I want to share this with you all. This is critically important for you to understand the 80/20 rule when it applies to your business. 80% of your revenue comes from only 20% of what you do every day. I'm going to pause here. A lot of us are doing a lot of things that's not driving what your responsibility is as the CEO or a top executive or in sales in your company. You're responsible for the strategic direction and the profitability of your company. But only 20% of what you do every day accounts for 80% of the revenue. So there's only a few things that you should be doing that's going to make most of your money. And so this is the first thing that we need to really hone in on is what is that? Because most people don't teach it. They don't teach this in business school. They don't tell you as a small business owner what you should be really focused on. And I'm going to show you what you should really focus on as the business owner. You ready? It's only 7 areas. 7. 7 key areas will make up your 20%. Here's what they are. The first area is lead generation. Now, listen, we're not talking about just generating leads. We're talking about generating your ideal client, the person, people, company that you want to do business with. That's one of the 7 things you should be focused on. The second thing is conversions. So when I'm identifying my pool of people that I want to do business with, converting them into an opportunity. It's called a conversion event. All right. So I'm talking to the right people. The second thing is the percentage of them that I'm converting, and then now my closing rates, which is different than conversions. A lead is just a name and some information, right? When it turns to a prospect, that's when we're having a conversation or a conversion event. That person is someone that's been identified as someone who needs and wants what I offer, and then what percentage of those become paying customers? All right, so that's 3 of the 7 areas that you should focus on. Here's the 4th. Client retention. How do I keep and do more business with the people that are already my clients, as opposed to the far greater cost of me having to generate new leads? Everybody tracking with me? Client retention. Now, some people say, hey, I'm a one and done. Client retention, though, could also mean that you're extending your web from that client and generating more business. Make sense, everybody? Here's the 5th thing. Average dollar per sale or average dollar per transaction. You know, GoDaddy does really good at this. You know, they'll say you have a 99-cent URL, www. But here's what they know. If you're coming to them to get a URL, more than likely what? You're about to start a business, right? And so they start offering other things. And we'll talk about this later because they know that these are things that you're going to need either before you come to them or after. So 99 cents isn't the average dollar per transaction. Their average cart size typically is almost $200. So the average dollar per sale, how can we increase that? The next thing is the frequency of sales. All right, I got the right people I'm talking to for leads. I'm converting them into conversion events. My closing rates are there. I'm retaining more people. I'm increasing my average dollar per transaction, and I'm doing business with them more often. And finally, cost. People brag about revenue. That's for bragging. What are you keeping? What are you bringing home? That's what matters. So how do I control and keep my costs down so that I can keep more money in my pocket? These are the 7 areas. It's called the 7-step pathway to profit that makes up the 20% that you as the business owner or the revenue driver should be focused on. And here's the thing. It's predictable. You can predict this. A lot of times we're focusing on the wrong things because there's a lot of noise out here. There's a lot of noise, a lot of things that take us off track. And again, you hear all the gurus telling you do A, B, C, D, and E. First of all, does this make sense to everybody? Everybody tracking the 7 things that make up the 20% that you as the business owner or the driver of revenue should be focused on in your business? Any questions about this before we move on?